Hi everyone, so today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at how we build a feedback solution in our Salesforce org, how we do it for free, and how the contacts on our org are able to fill in these forms with ease, and we can collect that data and report on it. First thing we're going to look at is the issue. So this is a potential issue that we have. So a team within our org, they want to collect feedback from the customers. This feedback should be automatically sent from Salesforce. For that, we're going to need a trigger to send off some kind of email so that they know that they have a feedback form to fill in. This form should be accessible without needing to log into the community, so we need to make it as easy as possible for them to complete. But this form should also be secure, so it cannot be spammed. So we have to work out how to do those two things at the same time. The data should be collected in Salesforce and reportable. That's understandable. There's no point collecting it if you're not going to actually use that data. But you can't have the form filled in twice. So it's going to be specific to this various things. For me, it's an opportunity, and you can't fill it in twice. It should also be able to handle different feedback forms. So again, we're going to look at one for product, one for service, and they're going to have different questions. And then finally, often the case with smaller organizations is we don't want to pay for it. There are many options out there on the App Exchange which you can use. They obviously come at a price, but they also come with support, and you could say that they're very good. I like to see what I can build in my own org myself. Helps keep costs down within my org. The tasks, there's a few tasks. It's quite a long one today that we're going to go through. First thing we're going to do is create our custom feedback object and some universal fields. So these universal fields are not going to matter which record type that we're going to be using. They're going to be on both of those and filled in by everybody. Secondly, create record types for each different types of feedback. I know that there's alternatives that potentially could be used in the future. It's not particularly my skill yet, so I'm going to stick with good old record types to do this. Then we're going to create our feedback specific fields and add this to the relevant page layout, so we know we get a different feedback form for each person, and also internally when you're looking, obviously you have the right questions without having to scroll through. We're going to create firstly a record triggered flow for the feedback form creation and send. So it's going to be record triggered. We're going to have a scheduled path, and we're going to create it at a certain point and then send at a certain point to the customer. And then after that, we're going to create our screen flow, and the screen flow is going to be what the customer will fill in. Next, we want to prepare the experience site for flow. So there's a few things you have to do to your site just to make sure that everyone can access it, they have the right permissions and access to run those flow. That feeds on to the next one about preparing the guest user access. Then we're going to create our email alert and our template, a form part of our flow, but you have to do a little back and forth for this. And then we're going to update that record triggered flow, so we include the email alert. And then finally, probably not going to do on this video, but we would build reports and dashboards as necessary. So there'll be a few stops and starts in the video as I go through. You're not going to see me create everything, but what I'll do is I'll explain the bits that I've done, and hopefully, again, this is a concept video, so hopefully you can take it and consider how you may use it in your own org. So first of all, we're going to show you it running. There'll be a little pause. What I've decided here is that when a opportunity in my org is changed to closed won, it will create a feedback form, and then the trigger I've used is 1 minute later, purely for showing you. It would tend to be something like 7 days, 2 weeks, whatever it is you use. I've decided that it will send the feedback form or an email with that feedback form link to whoever is the contact role decision maker. That's what I've chosen. It will look at the type of opportunity here, product or service, are the two I've chosen, and then it will send the appropriate form. So what we're going to do, we're just going to quickly show you that generate. So I'm going to go to closed one, save. Going to move on. I'm just going to quickly do a refresh on my page. And down here, you'll see a feedback form has been created. On this feedback form, we've linked it to our opportunity. We've linked it to the decision maker. We have the correct record type here for product, because that's the type of opportunity it was. And then I've got 3 questions here, just product satisfaction, user guide, and product recommendation. This will go into later. This is a GUID number, so this is a unique number that is generated every single time we make a form, and this is how we're going to help protect our org being spammed by various things. I also have here, there's going to be a tick box with feedback sent when it's complete and the dates, because what I may wish to do is I may wish to look at the dates in between send and completion. It may highlight that there's either a problem with my form, or it may highlight that there's certain products or services that you just don't get responses to, and you may want to put in additional prompts along the way to say, hey, do you really mind filling this out for me? So I'm hoping this will take a minute to generate, and I'm also keeping an eye on my email just to make sure that it comes through. At the moment it's not completed. Rather than you waiting, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go straight into some of the fields that I've created. So we're just going to go in, we can always come back and show you in a minute. So I'm going to go into Setup, Object Manager. You obviously will have your own ways of doing this. I'm going to show you my method. Descriptions, please fill those in. Very, very helpful. You'll see I've probably missed a few on here. Please don't call me out. First of all, we're going to look at the fields we have. So I'm going to show you some of those universal fields I was talking about. So these are ones that are going to be on every single feedback form, because I think they're useful on all of them. And there's a few leftovers, such as currency, which purely come from previous work I've done in my dev org, so ignore those. So we've got up here, we've got agent attitude, we have post-service performance, product recommendation, satisfaction, things like that. Those are just a few test questions I've put in. Those are going to be specific to depending on which type it is. But as far as universals go, we have a GUID number. This is one of the key ones here. So this is something that's going to be filled within the flow that will give us that unique code. So we need to have a field in there for GUID number that will go on both of our record types. Feedback sent, feedback complete, and the dates. Again, those are universals that we keep on both of them. I have two lookups. I have a lookup to the contact via the opportunity, and I also have a lookup to the actual opportunity here. On my record types, really simple, product and service. The idea of this is that you're going to have different feedback forms that you deal with different questions. One way you can manage that is using record types with different page layouts. So if I go to my page layouts here and I look at my product one, you see I have the 3 product questions here. If I go to my service one, we have the 3 service ones here, and that just makes things a little bit more useful. I'm just going to refresh this, make sure it's run through. That's where you find you have it. There we go. So we now see that feedback sent has been ticked, and I'm going to check my email to ensure that it has come through. Not yet. I will pause the video and I'll come back to you when I've found out where it is. Probably gone straight into my junk. Right, we're back. Just a quick change of email address because my spam filter was stopping the email coming through, because as you can see it's just a text one. So let me show you a little bit closer. So it's a standard email alert. I've very quickly used a text one here. Hi, you can always first name it there if you want to. We'd love to have your feedback. Please click below. This, you probably hyperlink it. I've kept it open so you can see we've got the name of the org here. Then we have something in particular, flow / the name of the flow. And then I'm passing a variable through the URL. So this is a GUID. We'll go into that when we talk about setting up the email template, how we particularly get that to happen. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to quickly copy this. You'd obviously click on it, but I'm just going to do it in an incognito. Saves messing with my org. Here we go. So we're going to paste it in. Takes me to a public page on my site where I can fill out the form. Satisfied with the product? Would you recommend to your friends? And the guide was fine. Going to click next. Thank you for completing form, and I close screen. What I would like to do there is a redirect to URL. There is a little add-on you can get where you can either navigate to an external page, even though that's not standard within Salesforce, or I believe there's a way of going to one of your org pages, but at the moment we haven't done that. That's something we can look at a later stage. When we click close, obviously what it's doing is it's reassessing and it's looking at the GUID again, but as you can see, it doesn't allow us to fill the form in a second time. So if I go to that again, I refresh it, I F5 the page, it's not going to give me the option to fill it out again. That's again one of the solutions which we talked about. So let's just go back and look at that custom object that we were talking about. So as we've said, we've we've created our custom object. We've created various fields that we're going to associate to individual record types and page layouts that we are going to have. And then we have our universals here. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to go for our flows. So we're going to start off with a record triggered flow. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what I have created first. I'm not going to be building it with you, but again, I'm available to answer questions on it if needed. So it's my record triggered flow. We'll have a little look at it. So for me, it's when a record is updated, and I have various conditions here. So the trigger I've chosen is that when the stage name is changed to or equals closed one, and then the type is either a product or a service. This is where the different types of feedback form come in. And for me, only do it when a record is updated to meet the condition requirements. I don't want it to happen every single time people change things, even though an opportunity you would expect to be done. I don't want it to change. I don't need fast field updates. We can go action and related. I could probably run asynchronous really, but we'll keep it on that for the moment. So there's my entry, and I have a run immediately, and then I have a scheduled path. This is currently offset by 1 minute to when the opportunity is updated. That's only for a demo. What you might choose instead is you could, for example, after the close date, you could do it 2 weeks after the close date, or you would have another date field on there perhaps that you're going to use. Whatever you want, that's how you do your scheduled path. So let's go for the run immediately. First thing I'm doing is I'm getting my primary contact role. So as we heard with my trigger, it's going to be going to the person who is the decision maker on that opportunity. So it's a easy get records for this. What I want is the opportunity ID to equal the record, the S record. This is the record that has triggered the actual flow itself. So the way you get to that is you click into value. Down near the bottom you have all these things here. I want the opportunity. It doesn't really matter for me whether it's prior or not, because these fields don't change. I'm going to go to S record. I'm going to type in ID, and I'm going to choose this. So this is my opportunity ID that started the record, and the role is the decision maker. So I only need the first record. I want it to automatically store fields. I'm not bothered. There's only going to be one record, or there should be, and I don't need to sort it. That's my first get records. Then I need feedback record type. So what I'm doing here is I'm looking at the object record type, and I'm going to filter off a developer name. So I'm going to say where the developer name equals, and in here it's the same name as the opportunity type on my feedback form record. If I just show you what I mean by that, if I go here, I have a field called opportunity type, and this is a formula field that takes it from the opportunity. So it looks at the opportunity, whatever the field, the opportunity type is on there, and it copies it over. So that means this form is filled in with that already done. So when I get to finding it, It's nice and easy. I just say, find me a record type which equals that, please. Again, automatic store fields, only find the first record. And then I'm going to create my feedback form. So here, what I want to fill in is my contact email. And this is the, I'll show you how we get through here. So previously I said get the contact role, so I'm going to go into that one here, opportunity contact role. Then I'm going to go into the contact here, and then I'm going to be able to get the email from here. So I'll find my email, contact by opportunity again. That's just getting the contact ID, so these two are quite similar here. That's just for the lookup. The GUID, we'll go to that formula in a minute. My opportunity ID, I've gone for the S record again, the record that triggered it. And then the record type ID is just the ID from the record type I previously got. Let me quickly show you the GUID formula. So I found this online. What I'll do is I will paste it in the comments to show you what it is, and it basically takes the record ID and it does various things with it. It takes sections at the beginning, at the middle, from the right, it mixes them all together, and it gives you a unique ID that nobody is going to be able to manually copy. So this is a useful one. We generate it here within the flow, and then when we create the record we fill that GUID field. That's why we create a text field for that, so it gets filled at the actual creation. Next, we have the send feedback. So this is our scheduled flow. For me, it's 1 minute after we've done it. First thing I want to do is I want to get my feedback form, and there's a couple of things I want to look at here. So first one is that the opportunity, the lookup on the feedback form equals the opportunity that started this off. And the second one is that the GUID number is not empty. So what we don't want to do is to get one where there isn't a GUID, because we use that later on in the other flow, and we're just going to make sure we get the right ones. If I quickly flip over to auto layout, have I done this properly? No, I haven't. So what I should have here is fault lines. I know there's a couple of people who, particularly on Twitter, will be telling me off for not having fault lines. Sometimes I do them. I should do them a little bit more. After we've got our feedback form, then we're going to be sending an email alert. So this email alert, for the record ID, we just use the feedback form that we've got, and I'll show you when the email alert, where we get the email address from. And then after that, I'm going to update the record, again using this feedback form. Fields I want set to the date that it was sent, and I've got a tick box to say that it was sent. So that's done after the email alert, so I know that that is at least being sent as far as my flow is concerned before I tick it. So that's that one. Next we're going to have a look at our other flow. This is the screen flow that we will be using on the Experience Cloud. Oh, here we go, there's a fault line, good me. So the first thing we're going to do here when it starts is we're going to do a get record, and we're going to get the feedback form from the GUID. So where the GUID number, which is what's stored in the feedback form, equals this variable I've called GUID, and obviously it's not empty. If there's any faults there, then it's going to go to a no feedback found, or you haven't got anything to complete. So this is either if they can't find something, or at a later stage, once they've completed it, it clears the GUID, and it will also go to here. So this is my fault path at the moment. So next thing we're going to do is we have a decision to see whether it is complete or not. We're looking to a checkbox on the feedback form. If it's true, it's complete. No, false, not complete. And then we have a default. The default and the yes again go to this it's done screen. The no continues on. My next decision is what type of feedback form we have. So this is where we look at whether it is a, we're looking at that opportunity type. So we're looking at whether it's a product or whether it's a service. Those will then take us down to different screens, and the default, if it doesn't work it out, if there's been a problem, again, it will take it to the error screen or to our there's no feedback screen. We'll start on product. So I've got three very simple fields here. We have ourselves a slider, 1 to 5, how satisfied were you with the product? We have a would you recommend the product to your friends? It's a simple pick list. I've chosen radio buttons, and then here you have a choice set. So if you haven't used these before, then you create a new choice set. This is a pick list, so I want to pick list choice set, and you give it a name. Won't be saving this one. You find your object, so this is on the feedback form. The data type, single or normal pick list or the evil pick lists. And then you choose the field. So this was, would you recommend? So this one here. You click done, and that will make you your choice set, and then those will appear when somebody looks at the form. So we've done that here for the would you recommend. We've done that for the user guide. Ignore that. That's just because I've clicked out of it. We're going to cancel. And again, on the service, done a similar thing here. So I've got 2 radio buttons with choice sets. And for some reason, I chose a pick list on this one. I've no idea why, but it's exactly the same principle. I've chosen require because I want them to do it. The next thing we want to do is to update the record from the details that they filled in on the screen. So we have a update records here. The object is our feedback form. And to find the right record, the ID must equal the feedback form we had from the get records earlier. And the values we're going to set here. So these are the values that we have got for the questions, at least through those screen components. So we're going to start with how satisfied are you with your product, and I'll show you how you do that. So with this one here, you go onto the screen components, how satisfied, and this was a slider, so actually you have to choose the value for these, which are the pick lists. We'll delete that. We simply find the appropriate one. So product recommendation, would you recommend this product? Radio buttons there. For the date, so this one we actually get through global variables. So I want the date completed, so I'm going to go into here, my global variables, and I click flow, and you have a choice of what you have. So current date or date time, or interview start time. So I'm going to choose current date. We also have a tick box to say that the feedback is complete. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be also clearing the GUID number. The reason we do this is to stop the form being filled in twice. So we say we want to fill it, but we fill it with nothing. In a similar way, we do that with our update records. So again, we've got the same stuff. We use the questions that have been asked, the date, whether it is complete, and the GUID number is cleared. Finally, we take them to a thank you screen, just whatever you want to say there. What I'd like to do is have a button, as I say, that would direct me somewhere else. I may take it to the company website. There is something called navigate to URL, which is a little piece of code that enables you to do that. It creates an action which you then bring in. I can't remember how to do it at the moment, but if you Google that, you'll be able to find it out. Okay, we're on to the next one. We're going to be preparing our experience site. So let's do that. I'm going to go to my experience site. In fact, I'm going to delete a page here. Let me just very quickly delete this page, and then I can create it new. There we go. So To access flows when you're using a guest user profile, you've got to use a particular type of page. You can't just have a normal public facing page and add a flow component, which is obviously if you have a logged in user, you can add a flow component as long as they have the ability to run flows, then that's not a problem. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create a new page, and the page we're looking for is going to be a standard page, and we're looking for a flow page here. So I'm going to click next on that, and this, because I need to keep it the same, feedback form, we call it feedback form, and you'll notice a URL is slightly different here. It's not like you would normally have. You would normally have, you know, name and it would generate through, but slightly different with the flow page. So here we are. Automatically it comes up with this flow component, which I'm going to click, and then I'm going to select which flow I want. Now your flow won't be visible there if you haven't activated it, so you need to activate your flow for it to be visible here. I've realized what I've forgotten. I'm going to go slightly back to my form creation because I didn't show you the very important thing, which is the GUID. Flow. Here we go. Apologies, this is a really key thing here. So for my screen flow, what I need is a variable which I'm calling GUID. What this is this is the place where it will store the value I put in the URL. So we create a variable, we've got to make sure the name is spot on. It's going to be GUID, and I've got to make it available for input. So you make it available for input, and then it just sits there. So it doesn't get filled, it only gets filled through the URL when somebody goes there. So when you do that, what you will see is on this page, you will have this space here that you can put something in. And what we're going to do is we're going to give it the name GUID with our curly brackets, so that we can basically we can accept the variable that we're going to be putting into the flow, and it can do all those little searches at the beginning where it does the get records with that variable. So let me publish that. Yep, going to publish changes. Once that's published, we're going to look at a couple more things on our flow. So for this next bit, what we're going to do is we're going to show you how we enable a guest user to access the flow. So you go to your flows, you find your screen flow here. You click little black arrow and then you choose edit access. Once you've done that, you click override default behavior, and then you click save. Don't have to add anything yet. You next go to your experience builder site, and what we're going to do, we're going to go into settings, and we're going to choose our guest user profile, which is in the general part of settings here. And within this profile, we're going to click on flow access. I'm going to click edit. What will appear in the available flows is all the ones that you've ticked override for. So here I'm going to choose feedback flow. I'm going to add it, and I'm going to click save. That means that my guest user can use this particular flow. If I go back here, let me do a quick refresh. Edit access. You'll now see that we have it as an enabled profile. It wasn't in this list previously, but now it's in the list, and it's therefore they have access to that flow. There is also a page I would very much recommend to follow. Let me just pop this up here. So again, I'll put this link in. So this was thank you somebody on the Trailblazer community. They helped me find this particular page about how you get access. So I'll put a link there. You follow that. It's much clearer than me. Okay, our next part is the email alert and the template. So let's go to the template. For ease, I created a text. I'd probably prefer something with a letterhead, but there wasn't one set up in my org, so I've just gone for a simple text one. Okay, so let's edit it and we'll show you what we do. So your simple message here, hi, love to have your feedback, please click the link below. And then what I've got is I've created a link to include my variable. So the first thing I did is I took this, which is the URL of my site, my experience site, email template, chuck that in. You then have something in particular. So if you remember, when we went to this page here, let me look at my page properties, you'll see here the URL is slightly different. It's /flow/flow name. And in my template here, you have the /s, I think you always have that. But then we have /flow, and then this is my feed, this is my screen flow. It's the API name. So if you need to know where you get your API name, let's go back to the flow. Feedback flow here. View details and versions. And then just over here is my flow API name. So if I go back to the template, I have the base domain /s/flow and then / the name of the flow I want them to be able to access. Then have a question mark. That basically says there's something coming next, which is a variable that you want. And we have here, so it's going to say GUID, because if you remember when I made the variable within the screen flow, I called that variable GUID, the one that was available for input. So it needs to be the same. And then you put equals, and then you simply add yourself a field. I like to use up here, it's so much easier. So I'm looking for feedback form fields. I select my field and it is a GUID number. I copy that and then I just paste it in. So GUID equals whatever that is. Okay, cancel there. We're then going to go to the email alert. So this email alert here. So the object is the feedback form, because when you're doing selected fields in an email template, you need to be, the object you choose for the email alert has to match the one that you're choosing to merge in. So we've chosen a feedback form, and then for recipient type, I chose email fields because on my feedback form, I've copied over, again through a formula field, I've copied over the email address from the contact. And that then means if I choose email, let me put it back, it's easier, let's remove it for the moment. We would choose email fields, and then the available recipients it chooses and says, well, can I find an email address that you can use? In this case, it's this one here. So I click add, then it knows who it's going to be going to. And then depending on who it's going from here. Sometimes you have lists of other emails that you've got set up in your org. That's our email alert. So once you have finished your email alert, then what I needed to do is I needed to go back in to my record triggered flow, and I needed to add the email alert here. I couldn't do it initially because there was a few other fields that I needed to set up, and I wanted to get the GUID working. You might be able to do that at an earlier stage. For me, that was one of the last things that I did. That is how it should work. So we will show you it one more time. Reports, we haven't really got any data generated here at the moment, but there's various things that you could report on. So for example, you could report on average scores depending on what the record type is. You could look at the time differences between the send and the completion date. You could look at the answer to a second question compared to a first. So would you recommend it? Yes. And then you obviously look at the answers to the other ones and you can average them out. It really depends on the kind of data that you are collecting. Other things you could do is on this flow here, if you get to, you could always add another scheduled path a week later that says if the feedback hasn't been completed, then resend them a second one saying, hey, we really would like you to complete it. There's different things you can do depending on how much you really want them to complete that flow. You can report off the ones that have been sent and haven't been completed, because they're also linked with a contact and linked with an opportunity. You can feed through and say, find out if Fred tends to reply to lots of feedback forms or doesn't reply to any at all. So lots of different things you can do. I think that's it. I appreciate it was skimming over it very quickly. The idea is really to just give you some thoughts on what you could do with a feedback object, and you can see how you can make a flow visible to people who aren't logged into your org, how you can use a GUID so that it's protected. If there isn't a GUID, then the flow won't see it and it will just run to say, I can't find a feedback form. So they can't do any damage to your org in that way. And also you can make sure that they only complete it one time. Any questions, feel free to get in touch. Probably best via my Twitter, really, at IamDes, IAMDES. And see you soon.